Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm down at Alta Auto Group and we're going to check out their 2022 Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat Widebody. So huge shout out to them for providing this vehicle for me today. Make sure you guys check out their website. I'll have that link down in the description. They have a huge selection of awesome pre-owned inventory, but the Charger that you see behind me is finished off in Destroyer Gray with a list price just over $93,000. And to start off today's review, we're going to take a look at what powers this Hellcat. Underneath the hood is the 6.2 liter supercharged V8 paired to the 8-speed automatic transmission. It pumps out 797 horsepower around 6,300 RPM and 707 pound-feet of torque as low as 4,500 RPM. That power is sent to the rear wheels. This weighs in right around 4,600 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in the mid 3-second range up to its top speed of 196 miles an hour. And it has a fuel capacity of 18.5 gallons. You'll expect to see around 12 miles per gallon in the city and 22 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 120 inches. Its overall length is 201. It has a width of 78.3, a height of 57.6, and its ground clearance measures in at 4.5 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for this Dodge Charger, let's start off with the massive hood scoop that you can see front and center. This has a really aggressive front end design for this family sedan. It even has functional heat extraction vents on the back side of the hood and really nice lines coming down both sides of the bulge, leading to that hood scoop right in the middle. This also has a sunken in grille, plenty of cutouts to provide cooling to that engine, and there's even some bodywork separating the upper grille and that lower section there, providing even more airflow. The SRT badge is over on that driver's side, and this even has LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals with a really nice design. The headlights are just as sleek as the grille, so it wraps around nicely, giving it a really nice look. In the lower section of this bumper are a lot more cutouts, really nice contoured lines too, just to add to that aggressive front end. And this is the wide body, so from the side or this angle here, you can see just how wide those fender flares poke out of those wheels, where this has a really nice set of 20 by 12 inch wheels finished off in carbon black with a multi-spoke design. The red brake calipers are just behind that as well, and the rotors on this measure 15.7 inches up front and 13.8 inches in the rear. Definitely a lot of stopping power. With the amount of horsepower that this has, you need that performance. Really nice lines run down the rest of the side as well. There's one that wraps right through the door all the way back up to the taillight. The Hellcat logo is just behind that front tire. This has body colored side mirrors. It even has a sunroof up top. All of the window trim is blacked out as well. And it has a really nice side proportional design, especially being the wide body. Those fenders match nicely with the lower side skirt, even the small piece that you see just behind that for the rear bumper. And then leading to the rear, this has a body colored trunk mounted spoiler with a great shape to it. This has a backup camera, LED taillights with the classic connector bar running right through the trunk, just giving it a great look. There's a backup camera with all the parking sensors, some black trim in the lower diffuser, as well as the dual exhaust, and then another SRT badge. So with the exterior wrapped up, let's move on to the cargo space. You can double tap the button on the key fob, or you can push on this nicely placed button over on the passenger side and it will open up for you. Now, being a four-door sedan, this has plenty of room. There's large cutouts on both sides where you can place a lot of items sideways if you need to. And the back seats do fold down, giving you a lot more storage if you need to utilize that. And then also up underneath the floor, there's a little bit more hidden storage, as well as the battery and a tire inflator kit, a little bit more storage if you need to utilize that. There's one grab handle over on that passenger side, making it very easy to close. And now we can move on to the back seats. And then when I open up the door, this model has the solid red leather interior. So on the door panel, there is a two-tone design with the black leather as well as the stitching. There's chrome on the release handle, even some white stitching, and I like how the black wraps all the way down to the lower storage bin. This even has a 6-speaker audio sound system. And then moving to the interior with the solid red leather seats, these are heated, which is really nice. All of the white and even red stitching matches it very nicely. And at 5'10", if I hop in the back, I do have the front seat set at my height, so I have plenty of room for my feet and my legs. There's even a storage pocket behind both front seats, and I have around an inch or two above my head. Very spacious for 3 people to fit across in the back. And then right in the middle, there are 2 air vents, as well as those heated seat controls, even a USB, so that way you can charge electronics if needed. And then a quick look at visibility from the back seats, very open feeling. And then before we move on to the front seats, this does have remote start. And real quick, just to point out, there's even functional vents in the back bumper, which is great to see. But if you lock this vehicle and double tap this button, we can bring this to life. and it definitely sounds really good. We'll get some exhaust clips here in just a little, but with the vehicle locked, all I need to do is place my hand up underneath the door handle. It will automatically unlock. You can use that button to lock it, of course. And then with this front door panel, matches the rear one very nicely. A lot more storage in the lower section of the door. This even has memory seating adjustments, all of the mirror controls, as well as the window adjustments. And then these front seats have SRT right in the middle. Really nice bolstering support to them. They are automatic seats as well. There's even SRT and red down on the floor mats. It's a very easy car to hop into. A low door sill. That door also opens up very wide. And then looking at the steering wheel, it's covered in solid and perforated leather with more of that white stitching. Let's fire this back up though. We have a very wide opening door there, but with my foot on the brake, that red button is over on that right side. We can bring this back to life. And coming back to the gauge cluster, as you can tell for the speedometer and the tach, the background is red. Really nice to see that. Right in the middle is a large LCD screen where you can go through a lot of information using these controls over on the left side of the steering wheel. Just underneath that is Bluetooth as well as voice commands. Cruise control is over on the right side. This even has steering wheel mounted paddle shifters, and then below the paddle shifters on each side are volume and tuning for the radio. So you have a few controls on the back side, but using all of those controls, as you can tell, the speedometer is currently shown. If I scroll down, you can go into vehicle information, look at TPMS, and a lot of engine vitals, just depending on what you'd like to see. You can quickly pull all of these up. There's the performance for 0 to 60, 0 to 100, 1/8 mile, quarter mile times. You have your braking distance. You have a lot of track focused performance within that tab there, even a lap timer. There's some more averages for fuel economy along with the trip information. You can pull up audio, any messages you have when your phone is paired, and going into screen setup, you can configure the center, the upper right, and the upper left, just depending on what you'd like to see. The last one is the speed warning. We have any diagnostics that you need to pull up, and then you'll tell over on the right side is the gear as well as the fuel gauge and the engine temperature, which are fixed. And then over on the left side of the steering wheel is the headlight adjustments as well as dimmer switch for the gauges. You can release the trunk. The manual parking brake is all the way down where your foot is. Really nice trim surrounding the back of the gauge cluster, even some more stitching, which leads all the way to the 8.4-inch screen right in the middle. Now there's a lot more info to go through. In the lower section, these are all presets. However, you can configure those. Currently, the media is being shown. We can go into the climates, where you can go into the heated and ventilated seats, as well as the heated steering wheel, which is really nice. There's more controls for a shortcut to get to that. You can go into the apps where you can go through a lot more information. And if there's something that you use a lot, like the performance tab, which is currently down there, you can actually drag and drop these to the bottom, which is really cool. There's settings just for general information. And then if I click on this performance tab now, you can look at all of this performance like horsepower. So if I give the vehicle some gas, you can see that adjust. There's a G-force meter, what gear you're in. You can go through all of the timers just in a little bit larger of a screen than in the gauge cluster. All of these gauges that you can monitor. You can pull up the G-force meter, look at the engine vitals as well. There's even a dyno tab where you can see that graph. So if I give the vehicle some gas, you can see that graph adjust. Really neat to see that for a factory vehicle. So you have even more settings here for the launch control. You can adjust the shift light. We have the active line lock where you can do a burnout, get those rear tires warmed up. There's drive modes that we can go into for the power transmission, even the paddle shifters, the traction steering. We do have the red key, so you can unlock all of those different options. Awesome to see that for this family sedan. You can practically take this to the track right off the dealer lot. Underneath that, we have power and volume as well as tuning for the radio. You can shut that upper screen off if you'd like to, even mute it. There's traction control, the parking sensors. This is how you can activate launch control. SRT is right next to that, so that's a shortcut to all of that information. And then all the climate controls are nicely laid out with the fan speed right in the middle. This does have a dual zone, so temperatures are on both sides along with some defrosters. There's a little bit of storage at the bottom along with a 12 volt, even more storage space on the right side of the shifter. And then with my foot on the brake, the release is located underneath. I can put this into reverse where the backup camera will appear. Really good graphics. We can go all the way into drive and pop it over into the manual setting so you can shift using the shifter or those steering wheel mounted paddles. There's more of that trim surrounding all of that. Even 2 cup holders right in the middle and a little bit of storage. You could place your phone if it's thin enough. You can cover those up if you'd like to. And then right in the middle is the leather wrapped armrest. There's a lot of space along with a 12 volt, 2 USBs and an auxiliary, so you can charge electronics from the center area. And then with the glove box with the split style design has even more storage. We'll take another look at these seats. And like I mentioned earlier, this has the sunroof with the manual adjusting sunshade. Up in the middle are all of the controls for the sunroof as well as the dome lights. This even gets a sunglass holder, which is really convenient. And as we get behind the wheel of this Charger now, I do have everything in track mode. This is the first Charger Hellcat that I've had the red key to. If you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, this car comes with 2 keys. We have the black key, which unleashes around 500 horsepower, so you're limited to that. Or you can use the red key, which gives you all the horsepower that I mentioned earlier. You can go into track. We have all these settings for power, transmission, the paddle shifters, even the suspension, steering, everything like that. So with it in the manual setting here, you can feel those shifts. Now we did hit a few bumps, but I'm not doing anything too crazy today, even though I do have the red key. It is crazy to see that we have this family style oriented sedan with all this track performance. The line lock, you can do burnouts, you can take this to the drag strip, and then yet you could have your kid seats in the back and take this to work. Pretty impressive to see for a factory vehicle like this. All right, here we go. And all of that power goes to the rear wheels. Oh man, it would be neat to see an all-wheel drive version for this, but on a dry day like it is today, it seems to be hooking for the accelerations that I'm throwing at it. I'm not doing pedal to the floor. It does sound pretty good too. You feel some drama in those shifts. So I wouldn't say they're smooth, but it just adds to that fun factor. I'm sure you can see that a little bit. I have seen these pump out even more horsepower with a simple tune, do pulleys, some kind of modifications. You could easily get this to 1,000 wheel horsepower and just have a beast of a vehicle. And I do like how comfortable it is to drive. So if you're driving this on a daily basis, these seats are really comfortable. I love the support that they have. So they are pretty good if you want to take this around some twisties, get it on some back mountain roads. As we switch over to the POV angle now, we'll pop it over into the manual setting. That supercharger whine, I know you'll be able to hear from the camera audio. It's much louder than the exhaust. You don't hear the exhaust, even though it does have a loud system to it from the outside. Kind of hard to hear it from the inside, to be honest. You hear a lot more of that supercharger, which I can't really complain with. Definitely a beast of a vehicle. And with all these other driving modes, there is a custom setting too. So if you want to adjust certain items, you can go through all that and quickly have basically how you want it set up. So even though I have it in track where everything is on or in track mode, if I want it in track for the paddle shifters or the transmission, yet I may want to dial down the suspension. If I'm out on a road like this or just driving in general, it's really cool how that's adaptable. And I kind of like how these paddle shifters are only the upper half. A lot of Dodge models have the volume and tuning on the backside, which is pretty helpful. So even though these are half a paddle shifter basically, they still are usable, even though we have a lot going on the backside. And just to take another look at this interior while we come to a stop, looks really nice. Quick look at visibility over that shoulder again, and then over the left side, it's very open. And one more acceleration for today's video. Definitely a lot of power, very fun to drive. But that's gonna wrap it up for today's review. Once again, a huge shout out to Alta Auto Group for providing this family sleeper sedan for me today. Definitely check out their website. That link is down in the description. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. And I will see you all in the next video.